When a black woman walks into a local salon for a simple wash, she's humiliated as the owner grabs laundry detergent and says it's the only thing that works on her hair. What the stylist didn't know was who this woman really was, or the storm her actions were about to unleash. What follows is a powerful story of disrespect, resilience, and redemption that will leave you speechless. Watch until the end. You won't believe how it all ends. In the bustling Alfama district of Lisbon, Portugal, the narrow cobblestone streets thrummed with life on a warm September afternoon. The scent of grilled sardines mingled with the salty breeze from the Tagus River, and the faint strum of a fado guitar drifted from a nearby café. At the corner of Rua dos Remedios, a small hair salon glowed with soft light, its pastel pink sign reading Beleza Pura swinging gently in the wind. It was here, amid the vibrant chaos of one of Europe's oldest cities, that Dr. Amara Lopes, a 38-year-old dermatologist and founder of the acclaimed natural skincare line Terra Viva, stepped inside for what she hoped would be a moment of calm. Amara was no stranger to attention. Born in Luanda, Angola, and raised in Portugal after her family fled the Civil War, she had built a reputation as a brilliant scientist and entrepreneur. Her deep brown skin and tight natural curls were as much a part of her brand as her organic serums, symbols of pride and resilience. She'd spent the morning at a conference in Lisbon, speaking to a packed room about inclusivity and beauty standards, and now, with an hour to spare before her flight back to Porto, she craved a quick wash and scalp massage to unwind. The salon was cozy, with vintage mirrors and shelves lined with colorful products. A few locals chatted in Portuguese, their voices rising and falling like a melody. Amara smiled at the receptionist, a young woman with a nose ring, and requested a simple wash. She was led to a chair by the window, where the late afternoon sun streamed in, casting golden streaks across her face. Then came Carla Mendes, a wiry, middle-aged woman with bleached blonde hair and a pinched expression. She owned Beleza Pura and carried herself with the authority of someone who'd ruled this corner of Alfama for decades. Carla barely glanced at Amara as she approached, her eyes narrowing slightly at the sight of her hair. "Natural curls, huh?" she muttered, her tone clipped. Amara, used to microaggressions, let it slide and settled into the chair, closing her eyes. She heard the water running, felt the warm stream hit her scalp, and for a moment, she relaxed. But then came the smell, sharp, chemical, and wrong. Her eyes snapped open as Carla squeezed a thick, foamy liquid into her hair, scrubbing with a vigor that felt more like punishment than care. "What is that?" Amara asked, sitting up straighter. The scent was unmistakable, bleach, harsh, and industrial. Her heart began to pound. Carla smirked, holding up a bottle of laundry detergent, the kind you'd use on stained linens, not human hair. "This is what works for hair like yours," she said loudly, her voice carrying across the salon. A few clients turned to look, their expressions a mix of shock and discomfort. "All that grease and mess, shampoo's too gentle." The room fell silent, save for the drip of water hitting the floor. Amara's hands clenched the armrests, her mind racing. She wasn't just any customer. She was Dr. Amara Lopes, a woman who'd faced down corporate giants and turned her vision into a multi-million-euro empire. And yet, here she was, humiliated in a cramped salon by a woman who didn't even know her name. She could feel the sting of the detergent seeping into her scalp, the burn of rage rising in her chest. "Stop," Amara said, her voice low but firm. She stood, water dripping down her neck, and faced Carla. "Do you have any idea what you just did?" Carla crossed her arms, unfazed. I've been doing hair for 20 years. I know what I'm doing. If you don't like it, there's the door. The other clients shifted uncomfortably, some whispering to each other, others pretending not to notice. Amara took a deep breath, her scientist's mind already cataloging the damage. Chemical burns, potential lawsuits, the sheer audacity of it all. But more than that, she felt the weight of something bigger, the casual racism that still lingered in corners like this, even in a city as diverse as Lisbon. She could walk away, shake it off, and board her flight. Or she could fight. She chose the latter. Pulling out her phone, Amara snapped a photo of the detergent bottle still in Carla's hand, then another of the salon's interior. "You're about to find out who I am," she said, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "And this isn't over." Carla scoffed, but there was a flicker of unease in her eyes as Amara strode out, her wet hair clinging to her shoulders. The street outside buzzed with energy, oblivious to the storm brewing within her. She opened Twitter. Her 300,000 followers were about to hear every word of this, and began to type. By the time Amara reached the sleek glass walls of Humberto Delgado Airport, her tweet was already gaining traction. Her fingers had flown across the screen as she sat in the taxi, the words pouring out. At Beleza Pura Salon in Alfama, Lisbon, the owner, Carla Mendez, washed my hair with laundry detergent, claiming it's what works for natural curls. This isn't just ignorance, it's racism, plain and simple. Photos attached. We deserve better. She'd uploaded the images. The detergent bottle, the salon's pink sign, the smug look on Carla's face frozen in the background. Then she hit send. Now, pacing the terminal with her damp hair tucked under a scarf, Amara watched the numbers climb. 50 retweets, then 200, then 1,000 in under an hour. Her followers, a mix of skincare enthusiasts, industry professionals, and social justice advocates, erupted. Comments flooded in. "This is disgusting! Boycott that place!" "Dr. Lopes, you're a queen! Don't let her get away with this!" A few trolls chimed in too, predictably. Maybe she was joking, chill out. But they were drowned out by the outrage. Back in Alfama, Carla was oblivious at first. She tossed the detergent bottle back under the sink and moved on to her next client, a chatty tourist getting highlights. The salon hummed along as usual until the receptionist, Sophia, glanced at her phone and gasped. "Carla, you need to see this," she said, holding up the screen. Carla squinted at the tweet, her lips tightening into a thin line. "Who does she think she is?" she muttered, snatching the phone. "Some uppity woman making a scene. I've got nothing to apologize for." But Sophia's wide eyes told a different story. She's not just some woman. That's Dr. Amara Lopes. She's famous. Her skincare line's in every pharmacy. And look at the retweets. This is bad. Carla waved a hand dismissively. "It'll blow over. People complain all the time." She turned back to her client, but the air in the salon had shifted. The locals who'd witnessed the incident were already whispering, some slipping out the door with furtive glances. By evening, a news van from RTP, Portugal's public broadcaster, had parked outside Beleza Pura. A reporter with a microphone stood under the pink sign, filming a segment. A viral tweet has sparked allegations of racism at this Alfama salon. Dr. Amara Lopes, a prominent dermatologist, claims the owner used laundry detergent on her hair in a shocking display of prejudice. Amara boarded her flight to Porto as the story broke. She leaned her head against the window, the hum of the engines drowning out her racing thoughts. She hadn't planned to start a war, but she wasn't surprised either. Racism wasn't loud and overt here like in some places. It hid in snide comments, in jokes, in the assumption that her hair, her skin, her very presence needed fixing. She'd faced it before. The professor who'd told her she'd never look professional with her curls. The investor who'd asked if her products were just for black people. Each time she'd turned the insult into fuel. This time would be no different. By the time she landed, #Beleza Pura was trending across Portugal and beyond. Activists in Lisbon organized a protest outside the Salon for the next morning. Influencers in London, Paris, and Madrid amplified the story, tying it to their own experiences. A dermatology colleague in Berlin posted a video dissecting the chemical damage laundry detergent could cause: scalp burns, hair loss, even allergic reactions, calling Carla's actions reckless and cruel. Amara's inbox overflowed with messages, support from fans, interview requests from journalists, and a few threats from anonymous accounts she quickly muted. Meanwhile, Carla locked the salon's door that night, her hands trembling as she scrolled through the hate piling up on her barely used Instagram. "Racist hag," one comment read. "Close your shop, you're done," said another. She slammed her phone down, her face flushed. "They're blowing this out of proportion," she shouted to no one. But deep down, a seed of doubt took root. She'd meant it as a jab, a way to put the entitled woman in her place. She hadn't expected this. The next morning, Amara woke to a text from her assistant. "Protest outside Beleza Pura is live on TV. They're chanting your name." She flipped on the news, and there it was. Dozens of people, mostly young and multiracial, holding signs outside the salon. "No more hate in Alfama. Respect our roots." A few older locals stood across the street, arms crossed, muttering about outsiders stirring trouble. The camera panned to Carla, who'd emerged to yell at the crowd, her voice cracking. "This is my business! You're ruining me over nothing!" Amara felt a pang of something. Pity, maybe? But it quickly faded. Carla had made her choice. Now the world was responding. Over the next few days, the story snowballed. Terra Viva's sales spiked as supporters rallied behind Amara. But so did the backlash. A right-wing Portuguese blog called her a race-baiting opportunist, claiming she'd staged the incident for publicity. Carla gave an interview to a local tabloid, tearfully insisting she wasn't racist. "I have black friends," and that Amara had overreacted. The salon's Google reviews tanked, flooded with one-star ratings from people who'd never set foot inside. But the real shift came in Alfama itself. Sophia, the receptionist, quit, posting a public apology on Instagram. "I saw what happened, and I should have said something. I'm sorry, Dr. Lopes." Other salons in the district began offering free services to Amara's supporters, distancing themselves from Carla. A community group launched a fundraiser to help women of color start their own beauty businesses, raising thousands of euros in days. The conversation spread, online, in cafes, at dinner tables, about the subtle ways prejudice still shaped daily life, even in a city proud of its multicultural history. Carla, meanwhile, saw her clientele dwindle. Tourists stopped booking, regulars stayed away. One evening, she sat alone in the darkened salon, staring at the empty chairs. Her phone buzzed, a call from her estranged daughter, Inés, who lived in Coimbra. "Mom, what's going on?" Inés asked, her voice tight. "People are saying awful things about you." And Carla broke down, sobbing about the witch hunt, but Inés cut her off. "You did this to yourself. You need to fix it." Weeks later, Amara returned to Lisbon for a follow-up conference. The firestorm had quieted, but its echoes lingered. Beleza Pura was still open, though barely. A for sale sign now hung in the window. Carla had issued a grudging apology on social media, claiming she'd meant no harm, but it rang hollow to most. Amara had moved on, channeling the attention into a new Terra Viva campaign celebrating natural hair textures featuring women from across Europe. One afternoon, as Amara walked through Alfama, she passed the salon. Carla was inside, sweeping the floor, her movements slow and defeated. Their eyes met through the glass. For a moment, neither moved. Then Carla looked away, and Amara kept walking. She didn't need an apology. Carla's reckoning was her own. The story didn't end with a neat bow. Carla sold the salon to a young Angolan immigrant who turned it into a space for natural hair care, a quiet victory for the community. Amara's platform grew, but so did the questions. How many Carlas were still out there, unexposed? How long until the next fight? As she boarded her train home, Amara glanced at her reflection in the window, her curls framing her face, unapologetic and free, and smiled faintly. Change was slow, messy, and incomplete, but it was coming.